Saturday night, the boys were at a party and they'd left me a message to come and pick them up, and I didn't check my messages, and I'd had a couple of drinks, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta call these guys a cab. And I called them a cab, and the cab company wouldn't even go pick them up because of the address where they were, because it was in a part of town that's known for having lots of First Nations people live there. And like, that's just not right. Like, you know, they wouldn't even listen to me when I'm like, look, I will give you my credit card on the phone right now. Just go pick up my boys and bring them back to me. And then they just hung up on me.
It didn't take long for Douglas Reid to realize taking in students from Dennis Franklin Camardi, an all-Indigenous high school, would be a lot different than raising his own kids.
Living in Thunder Bay, a lot of times, there is a old school racist kind of attitude. I mean, it's there. There's no denying it. But there's a lot of people that are not that way.
Reid was one of 3,000 people to attend a town hall meeting this fall to address the state of Indigenous students living in Thunder Bay. In May, 17-year-old Tammy Kiash's body was pulled from the Nebing-McIntyre floodway. Josiah Begg's body was found in the same river less than 2 weeks later. They were the 6th and 7th Indigenous teens to be pulled from the water in Thunder Bay since 2000. Reid, wanting to help, joined the boarding home program set up by the Northern Anishinaabe Education Council for students attending Dennis Franklin Camardi, also known as DFC.
For these guys, I didn't know them. And their growing up experience is probably very different from what my kids had and from what I had. And so it was difficult for me to try to be that, you know, give a little bit of firm guidance at times without imposing this idea that somehow I know something about their life, because I don't. I did burn the pizza this time.
I was expecting it to be
perfect. For a lot of kids, they're in one boarding home in year 1, and then in year 2 they're in another boarding home, and in year 3 they're in another boarding home. And being a teenager is hard, no matter where you are. And adding that, having to adjust every time, would just make it worse.
That was the case for Austin Linklater, who moved in with Reid at the start of the school year after living with another family.
When I was only like super sad and all that, that's the only time they would really talk to me. They never did anything with me. Well, I never had a dad growing up, so Doug is kind of like my dad. It feels like it. Like, we have this really nice bond.
If you're going to live in someone else's house, you're not going to trust them. There's a period of feeling out, and we went through that, and I think we're, definitely it feels like we've got a household. It was, but the first day he got here, he said, don't worry about cooking for me. I brought my favorite food, and this is all I'm gonna eat. And it was a little package of Mr. Noodles. And he said, all you gotta do is go to the grocery store, get me a case of Mr. Noodles, and I will eat this every day. And so I did that, and he hasn't eaten any of them.
Like many kids at DFC, students have no family in Thunder Bay and have to live with complete strangers. The school services students from 23 First Nations communities in Northern Ontario.
It's been compared to, I guess, like if you come from a small town and you suddenly move to New York City. Well, you gotta realize they're 13, 14 years old. And for some of them, it could be the first time coming to an urban center like this. So they're not familiar with transportation.
About 100 students are enrolled at DFC this year, and the numbers are down from last year. This fall, the city stated it was in crisis and vowed to work with First Nations leaders to restore safety in the city. The Thunder Bay Police Service and its board were accused of systemic racism and are under investigation into how they handle Indigenous deaths. In November, about 200 people walked from DFC to the river in memory of Indigenous youth who have died since 2000.
So we have had kids report that they're walking down a sidewalk and a car, usually young teenagers, would speed by yelling racial slurs, and sometimes they would have things thrown at them. And being a kid from up north who's not used to that, they haven't really had time to thicken their skin, so to speak, and it really hurts them.
Like during basketball, you can some of the people, like the players, you can like hear them like whispering like things in your ear when they go bump you or something, like dirty Indian or something like that.
In 2012, plans were unveiled for a student living center for kids at DFC. Students from First Nations communities would live there while attending class in hopes of ensuring their safety. But 5 years later, nothing has come of it.
A living center has always been our dream here at DFC. We call it a dream now because it's been a while. I've been here for 15 years, and since I got here, it's been an issue. We've always wanted a living center for these students so that we would always know that they're safe. That's the number one concern, you know.
In the meantime, community members like Reid are doing what they can to help students like Austin.
The kids all want to get their education, and they want to understand the larger world. And unless they go to school, that's really hard to do. I would like to see all of these kids have the chance to graduate, have the chance to determine their own destiny, determine their own future, and have the support that they need to do that effectively.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.